And we are live. What's going on, everybody? I am Adam. This is Highly Articulated, and today we're sort of going to be talking about toys. I will be talking about some crowdfunding projects that I am excited about, that I am looking forward to in 2026. There are some that have more information, some that have less information, but this is certainly not an exhaustive list of crowdfunded campaigns that we're probably going to see over the course of the next year by any stretch. These are literally the ones that I know. These are the ones that involve people that I know and that I in some cases am involved in. And like I said, these are the ones that I'm most excited about. Now, if there is a crowdfunding campaign related to action figures that you are aware of that I don't mention, by all means, please let me know. I'm very, very curious. I'm always curious about, this stuff because I'm involved in it and I know other folks that are involved in it. And so I'm always sort of curious what everybody else is doing and sort of how and why and when and all that kind of stuff. So to that point, I think I have like 5 or 6 different campaigns that I'm going to be looking at today. But as I said, that does not mean that this is anywhere near what we're probably going to see. We'll probably see other stuff. And I'm not looking at, I'm not even considering like, oh, what do I predict for a HasLab or something like that? I'm only looking at independent toy creators. I'm only looking at the little guys that are trying to do cool stuff, different stuff. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let me just very quickly say hello to the chat. Collecting Brothers are here. JMax77, Larry's Geeky World, Mr. Ryan Clark, Red 5, Peter Kleins. Mr. Ryan Clark says toys, but in the future. Yeah, exactly. Future toys. All right, let's begin, shall we? Let's jump right into it and see what we can come up with. No, I know what I'm going to come up with. I even did a slideshow for this. I'm actually prepared today for today's episode. All right, one crowdfunding campaign that I'm very, very excited about. This is going to be on Kickstarter. So the Four Horsemen are doing a tabletop role-playing game in the sort of style of Dungeons and Dragons or other things that are in that style. Although I think those things are also in the style of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's fair to say this is a Dungeons and Dragons inspired campaign. Mythic Legion's role-playing game is going to be a pen and paper role-playing game. They played it at Legion's Con. I didn't get a chance to get in on the sessions. I was very, very curious to see what they had as far as gameplay. From what I've heard, from what I've been told, the experience feels very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but still feels like it's connected to action figures. So I believe I believe as a mechanic, there's a part where, when the scene is big, you can use miniatures. You use, like, the standard style miniatures. But then as you get to a smaller space and as you get into combat, you can actually sort of switch to like 1/12 scale figures. So that's why they have miniatures as well as action figures that are going to go along with this line, and they are going to be sort of integral to the actual gameplay. But to the best of my knowledge, they won't necessarily be required. So you'll still be able to play the game without the figures and potentially even without the miniatures. But it's part of it, and I think that's what appeals to me is the component where you're playing with your action figures, you're playing with your toys, but there's sort of more to it. As far as physical engagement, I guess, in the game. To that point, they have released at San Diego Comic-Con, they released the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive paladin / cleric. You got some extra sort of parts in there so you could convert him from this paladin figure to a cleric. So you got a hood, you got a magic staff, and so on and so forth, which I have. I mean, he's here somewhere. Where is he? I didn't even think to grab him off my shelf, but if you want to, I don't know, can I? There, now he's kind of the same size as that knight. So you get, like, you can see, I mean, you could get a knight or sort of a wizard type character. Not that exciting. This has been seen many, many times before. He nearly made it into my top 10 figures of 2025, but didn't quite make it. But anyway, they had the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, as I said right there in the sort of black and gold and yellow of the San Diego Comic-Con livery. But the Kickstarter version, I believe, or sort of the game version, is going to look more like this, so red and gold, which I think actually looks really, really good. I would get this figure again. It's that good of a figure, so I'm excited about that. The Four Horsemen have their sort of website has a sort of section dedicated to this. So gaming and entertainment. If you go to sourcehorseman.com, all these links are going to be down below. I even prepped the links. That's how professional I am now. Don't count on this being. Don't count on future videos being this professional. But the Four Horsemen have a link on their site to gaming and entertainment. And as soon as you click on that, you go straight to Mythic Legions, the role-playing game. So there's more information on here, a frequently asked questions section. What is Mythic Legions? So maybe you're coming from the gaming side of things and you don't even know what Mythic Legions is. Of course, I suspect most people watching this video know what Mythic Legions are. So I'm coming at it from the toy collector, going to the tabletop game. And then, there's just a whole sort of breakdown of this. Now, this is the only one of the crowdfunding campaigns that I'm going to be talking about today that actually already have, a bookmarked page for their project. So you can go to Kickstarter right now, look up Mythic Legions, the role-playing game, and save it. And when it launches, you'll get the update, you'll get the email that says, "Hey, go back this thing now." 1,172 followers already, and they haven't launched. So I mean, they've got a pretty good sized audience, pretty good sized following before they've even launched, which is great. I think this is going to do really, really well. I hope this does really, really well. I hope we get a bunch of figures. I hope we get a bunch of miniatures. I hope we get sort of everything that people want from a Four Horsemen designed and inspired tabletop role-playing game. I think this is a fantastic project, and I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. As a crossover project, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom did try to do a tabletop game involving the action figures. It wasn't, the same as like a Dungeons and Dragons type of game. It was more of a board game that involved your action figures, and we might revisit that in the future. But I'm very, very excited about this because I think just any reason to play with your toys, any sort of anything that sort of inspires the creativity and it sort of inspires people to actually like pick up their toys and like pose them and play with them and smash them into each other if you need to, or what have you, I think is good. I think a lot of us collectors, adult collectors, fall into the habit of just sort of posing our figures and putting them on the shelf and then just admiring them. But I genuinely enjoy playing with toys, and I genuinely want more people to play with their toys and sort of engage in that sort of childhood, that using your imagination and just the sort of creativity and sort of how it sort of opens up your brain. But anyway, that's for another channel. That's for a psychologist to deal with. They also have an Instagram page like specifically for, or Instagram account, I guess, specifically for the Mythic Legions RPG. So Mythic Legions RPG is the name of the page, and they've got sort of just little highlights and little reveals. So this is, if you get the beginner set, you're going to get these plastic standees, which look really, really good. Here's a Mythic Legions character they're going to do. This is the heroic elf that they are going to offer with the campaign as well. I'm excited for all that. This is one of the miniatures, so you can go very, very basic with the plastic standees. You can go a little bit more, upscale from there, or you could sort of level up from there. We'll call it level up because it's a Dungeons and Dragons thing. You can level up to the little miniatures, and then if that's not enough, you can level up to the 6-inch scaled figures. So you can have your character. You can have all the characters. You could be a dungeon master that runs campaigns. I don't know what it's called for this game, but you could be the equivalent of a dungeon master and have like a whole set of figures, and then just let newcomers or guests pick their character, which I think that's probably the route that I'm going to go. That being said, no one's ever going to come and play, at our house or anything like that. I just dream that they will. I just imagine that they will. As I mentioned at Legions Con, they did play this. There was sort of a breakout room that had this. So this is the gentleman of Mythic Encounter. No, what is this? Oh, somebody's got to know. Mythic Quest. Is that what they? I can't remember. These dudes, run an actual Dungeons and Dragons campaign, but through sort of a Mythic Legions lens, if you want to call it that. And Joji is actually the dungeon master, and all these guys are subject to his wrath, basically. So that's a fun, show if you want to go check that out, for sure. It's no, it is not. It's not Legion's Lounge, although Legion's Lounge is 3 of these gentlemen, and Offworld is 2 of these gentlemen. 3. Just Shelvin is 1 of these guys. But their Dungeons and Dragons show is I think it's called Mythic Quest. I think. But if you know those other channels, you'd very easily find it. So definitely go check that out. And I think once this game sort of goes a little more live kind of thing, I think we're probably going to see them doing campaigns sort of pulled straight out of the Mythic Legions game. So very, very excited about that. Excited for the fact that it's a tabletop role-playing game, which I like. It's new figures that I like, but also that the figures have purpose, play function, play value. So very, very excited about that. Moving on to the next crowdfunding campaign. that I am interested in. So Tide Realm Corsairs. This is one that I admittedly don't know a ton about. I do know, I do know the folks that are sort of associated with this, and I met I met one of the people that sort of owns the company, and I'm sort of very, very curious to see what they do with this. So Tide Realm Corsairs is, a 6-inch or 112 scale action figure line that is pirate themed, for lack of sort of a more thorough explanation. But it definitely veers more towards the fantasy world of pirates rather than sort of a more realistic pirate thing. So you've got, well, you can see right there, Captain Algol Deathmoid is a, skeleton. Captain Alistair Morningstar is presumably human enough. And Captain Charybdis is squid like, octopus like, Cthulhu esque. So these are looking really, really cool. These are sculpted by the Four Horsemen, so there's definitely a crossover, between Mythic Legions and the Four Horsemen stuff, and then what these guys are doing with Tide Realms. I don't know what else they're going to offer. I don't know, if they're just doing 3 figures. I don't know if there's, more figures. I don't know if there's comic books. I genuinely don't know much about this, but that's kind of part of the fun. Sometimes it's better not to know. Sometimes it's better to just sort of check it out and sort of learn about it as the campaign unfolds, and learn about the stretch goals and learn about all that. I think a lot of times people get really hung up on wanting to know exactly what everything is going to be. And for me, I'll be perfectly transparent. This isn't really one that I'm terribly interested in. I'm interested in it insofar as these look cool. I hope these guys the best. And I know the folks that are excited about this are really excited about this. So I really genuinely hope this is a successful campaign. And so, there we are. Junction Crafts and Builds says just the 3 figures for now. Justin Mohan says I messaged them and they said these figures for now. Okay. That's I mean, that presents me with more questions necessarily than answers. Then that's I'm very curious about this one. I'm genuinely curious about this one. Spaded One McDysentery says the leather on Morningstar looks really dang good. Yeah, they had the paint masters at Legion's Con, and the figures look great. The world building that these guys are doing looks fantastic. Larry's Geeky World says the Tide Realm Corsairs looked so cool at Legion's Con. Absolutely. Junction Crafts and Builds says they have a lot of lore on their website. Absolutely. So they have a website, which I have in the links in the description down below. You can definitely check this out. But they have a website with the 3 characters, and then they got videos, they got artwork to go with this. There's more lore that goes with this. So if you want to dig deeper than this, and honestly, if you want to dig deeper than I have, they definitely give you sort of that option. So yeah, it's, just right off on the first kind of main page. For a millennia, the Tide Realms have been swirling vortex with no direction. So like these guys have, a history baked into this line, which is very, very cool. I think if this is sort of something that you're into, check it out. They've got an Instagram page as well. So if you want to just see the pictures in sort of a really sort of distilled way, Instagram is going to be the way to go for that. They've said coming in 2026, spring 2026. So we're there. I mean, I think sooner rather than later, we're probably going to have to see a date on this in order for this to land in spring 2026. But yeah, very, very cool. and something that I am very, very curious about. Also, 4,000 followers before they've even launched, which is crazy. I don't know if they did something before this to sort of get their numbers up a little bit, before. I know Space Zombies from Mars is nowhere near that. So, Derek Dalzell, 2501. I hope they are at ZoloCon. And then Junction Crafts and Build says, alas, they won't be at. There we go. Alas, they won't be at Zolo. And Brick says the lore's been ruminating longer than the figures. Okay, that's fair. That's cool. Like I said, I didn't know much about it till I met them. Justin Mohan, this is a very, very good point. For anybody that's not aware, the Four Horsemen Mythic Legions line has moved into sort of a high seas era, I guess, if you will, with a wave that will be out probably not far off from when this wave is released. So there's going to be a whole lot of crossover, I think, between those Four Horsemen figures and these. They did a media campaign last year, if I remember correctly. I think I've seen them out there. Again, full transparency, I haven't paid that close attention as the offering so far, which is effectively these three figures, on screen here. Here, I can switch back to this one, actually. These three figures don't do much for me, not because they're bad figures, but just that this isn't what I collect. I don't historical, pirate stuff isn't really my thing. So I'm good without these, but I do hope they get made because they look really cool, and I know a lot of folks that are really excited. So if they did a media campaign, that would explain why their numbers are so much better than I thought they would be. And Spaded One McDysentery says, now we just need somebody to do Pirates of Dark Water. Yeah, I hear that one gets sort of thrown out a lot. So yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think customs might come up. It's also one of those IPs where Pirates of Dark Water is an IP where, as much as there's love for it, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's financial support in the form of action figures at a $40 price point or whatever they would be. So that's the difficulty. I mean, I know I see that one thrown out there. I see a lot of IPs thrown out there that people go, oh yeah, these people would love these. And it's like, well, maybe, but maybe not. Anyways. Brick something says, did an episode with Quaid of Tide Realm 4 months ago. Learned a lot. They'll be on the Collection Nexus next weekend. Might cancel my show to be in on that interview. Fair enough. There you go. So check out Brick Something's channel if you want a more in-depth video on the Tide Realms, and stay tuned for more, because I think these guys are going to be everywhere very soon, especially once the campaign is live and sort of going. I think you'll hear a lot more about this. I think you'll see a lot more about this. So yeah. And Justin Mohan says, I think there is one historical pirate and the other two are horror. Yeah, so that's sort of horror, pirate, historical. My collecting tends to go more forward, tends to go more sci-fi, dystopia, future-ish, rather than historical stuff. Anyways. Red 5 says, what about modern pirates? Valaverse has something cool coming. Modern pirates, go for it. Valaverse, I don't really follow their stuff. Brick something says it was like a 3-hour conversation. I believe it. I mean, these guys seem to be really dialed in. They seem to have a really good idea of what they're doing and what they want to do, and what the sort of world that these characters inhabit is. It's definitely it's definitely got a lot of layers to it. All right. moving right along. Defenders of Eden, they're back. So Matthew Rodriguez and his crew did the dinos. I've got this guy back here. Defenders of Eden released their Kickstarter wave last year, 2024, and they are looking to follow that up with a sort of mini wave. So he's doing a Kickstarter again for a sort of wave 1.5. This is going to be more figures, but pretty simple. My understanding is that he's going to be doing 2 figures, as well as some additional kind of like packs, weapons packs. I think he's doing a tail pack. So he did head packs to sort of match the dinos, but there's going to be a tail pack. So for all the tails that didn't match once you switch the heads, there's going to be a little bit more customizability. And these are the 2 new characters. The sort of turtle inspired character, and then an aquatic crocodilian type of character. Crocodilian, but he's kind of like he's a little bit fish-like too. He's got that sort of fishy type tail, but he has more of a crocodilian head with some cool armor and some cool new weapons. And he's been sort of working on these for a while. Paint Masters have been out there. I think he had Paint Masters for these at Legion's Con. Images have been floating around for a while as well. And so this is a Kickstarter that will be happening. To the best of my understanding, this Kickstarter will launch as soon as it's ready to go. Matthew Rodriguez is chomping at the bit. He's sort of ready to go. He's excited to sort of get this going, get this into production, and then sort of move forward with more stuff. So this is wave 1.5, and then beyond that, I think he's already working on wave 2. And some other bucks, some other sort of body sizes and scales and stuff like that. So stay tuned for more of that. They look fantastic. Red 5 says kind of looks like an eel. I think there's sort of an eel thing going on. I don't know. I could have asked. I should have asked. I didn't ask. But they look very, very cool. I think it's interesting that it's like it's the same body, but then with a different head, different tail, and sort of a very different sort of look. It's going to feel very different. And Brick says, are these built on the existing bodies? Yes. So it'll be the same torso, same upper legs, same upper legs, same upper arms, and then I think it's like head, tail, maybe hands and feet that'll be different. So I think these look very, very cool. We've got the website for Defenders of Eden as well. So if you want to go check them out, they have got a website and social media stuff. The Instagram page has also got some custom painted stuff. It's got more pictures of these Paint Masters, I think, on here somewhere. There's the eel guy there, so he's already in the comic books to the best of my knowledge. I'm trying to find the Paint Masters. I thought the Paint Masters were on here. There he is. That's the Paint Master for the turtle guy, I think. Let me see if I can find the Paint Master for Squidly McEel. I was so sure it was on here. I thought I even looked it up. I mean, this is it. This is the. Oh, there he is. Okay, there he is. There's the Paint Master for this guy. Looks to be the same feet. The hands look a little bit different. I could be wrong. But the armor, like the chest armor and the sort of waist piece, are different. He's got a cool helmet with some hoses and things sticking out. So anyways, very, very cool stuff. So if you're sort of digging their dinosaur stuff, this is something to be on the lookout for. As I said, this is going to be sooner rather than later. There's Matt, stupid face. Matt is a great guy, and I wish him all the luck, all the best. I think these are fun. And again, this is sort of one of those ones where I having had these in hand now, having had the Defenders of Eden toys in hand, they're big and bulky and heavy and very, very cool. And so I'm excited to see more of what they've got. So yeah, back to the slides. But before I do, let's take a look. Speaking moistly, yeah, I mean, we're working on an update for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I was just talking to our project manager at the factory yesterday to sort of get an idea of the next 4 waves, basically, timeline as far as like scheduling that stuff. So it's coming, and it's a lot of it is, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit, but that Brawler wave really took a lot longer than we expected it to. But going forward after the Brawler wave, there's a lot fewer kind of technical and sort of engineering issues. So waves should be coming a lot more efficiently in the future. Spaded One McDysentery says, I like the turtle beak shaped weapon that Tortoise is holding. Yes, and that's part of it is that they've gone with sort of species inspired accessories to go with it. And Brick says, that reminds me, I'm back to Ashmore for some of the digital comics. I should look into them. Complete story ongoing. It's ongoing. And the Armies of Ashmore is actually specifically the dinosaurs, and Defenders of Eden is the comic book sort of lore, continuity, I guess, if that makes sense. Yeah. Next up is not a Kickstarter, but in fact a crowdfunding or what's it called? Backer kit. So Nippon Adventures, which is D23's second crowdfunding project. So D23 was the company behind Biblical Adventures, which was a couple years back. Figures were released in 2025. This is sort of a project being done by Chris Garwich, who is probably most familiar to most people as one of the guys working at Four Horsemen. He does the Mythic Half Hour or Mythic-ish Wednesday, whatever it's called, on Wednesday afternoons. He does Mythic Legion stuff and does sort of Four Horsemen news and updates from the Four Horsemen studios. And so they are, definitely really in the thick of toy making. But this is his sort of latest project. And this is one, again, that I don't know a ton of information about, largely because there's not been a lot released about this. There hasn't been much in the way of how do I say this? The consistency of sort of the information that we have has been a little bit scattered. There's an Instagram page for D13. There's a website for D13, but neither of them has much information about Nippon Adventures. The best source, I'll show you what I mean. The D13 website is still very much, Biblical Adventures heavy. Like, this is their main page. And there's not anything on it yet about Nippon Adventures. If you go to their Instagram page, there's a little bit more information about D13, but only insofar, or Nippon Adventures, but only insofar as it's like sprinkled in with other stuff. And a lot of it is like shared posts that other people have posted. They've sort of tagged them in. But I'm personally very, very curious about this. I'm sort of fascinated by Japanese culture. I have a strong sort of affinity for it. The best place to get information about Nippon Adventures, believe it or not, is a group Facebook group page for Nippon Adventures called Nippon Adventures Toys, where the vast sort of amount, or the best place to sort of see images of what they've offered, what they've sort of shown at shows and things like that, is on here. This was at Legion's Con. They had a bunch of the heads and different parts and stuff that they're going to do, and I'm very, very excited about this. While I wait, very patiently but very anxiously for Bushido from Spiro Toys, Nippon Adventures, I think, is going to sort of fill in, in the interim. But I think these figures look interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with their characters, and how many of the the little demons and things that they do, and what those look like in terms of scale. Are they going to be more monstrous? Are they going to be small like they kind of typically are in the actual Japanese mythology? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So I'm very, very curious to see what they do with this. Brian Brink says, has the Biblical Adventures figures been delivered yet? I think most of them have. The one that I backed for, Translucent Force Ghost Jesus, I have. It's a great little figure. I mean, it moves well. It's not a line that I was going to go that deep in. I just wanted Force Ghost Jesus. Spaded one McDysentery, so like 112 feudal Japan generic citizen figures with soft goods. Sort of. They're going to lean into folklore. They're going to lean into sort of the mythical elements of Japanese stories and things like that. So it'll be interesting. Derek Dalzell's asking, is it using the same buck as the biblical figures? Look like the same feet. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It looked different, and my understanding is that somebody else sculpted this buck. Now, I don't know if they used the existing Biblical Adventures buck, and they're sort of using that as a base where they can reuse the torso or the legs or something like that. I know that they do have different feet for this and some different hands, because there's sea grip sword holding hands, and then feet with sandals and things like that. So I don't know how much crossover there's going to be. I genuinely don't know as much as I probably should about this, partly because I've had every opportunity to ask Chris about it. But if you've ever had a conversation with Chris, you can understand that they kind of go off the rails very, very quickly. But in my research for sort of getting prepped for this, this video today, I was like, I think they had their backer kit set up, and sort of there and waiting, and they do, and the backer kit says launching in 2 days. So this, I believe, launches on Tuesday afternoon, if I'm sort of getting this correct. If it's not Tuesday afternoon, it might be Wednesday afternoon, just depending on how this little scrolling clock is going. I guess is it 48 hours from 1 hour from now, I guess? So 48 hours from 1 hour from now would put it on Tuesday afternoon, right? So, that's crazy. I haven't seen as much news about this as I thought I would. I haven't seen as many updates as I thought I would. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spots. Anyways, you can go to Backer Kit right now, and I have this link in the description as well. If you're interested in this and you just want to get more information, go to Backer Kit and sort of just put your email address in there. And when this launches in 2 days and 1 hour, you'll be right up to speed. So there you go. D13 doing Nippon Adventures this week, which is crazy. All right, let's see. Moving on. We'll move on to the next one. We'll move on to this. But before we do, Martin Poirier says, hello, don't forget about Delta 17 Year 2. I was not aware that they were doing a Kickstarter. And I spoke to Ken yesterday. So is that a Kickstarter? If so, it's one that I'm not aware of. Or is that just a lot? Like, is that Wave 2 is just coming out? Because they didn't even do a Kickstarter for Wave 1. So I don't think they're doing a Kickstarter for Wave 2. And so that's like, I'm talking about Kickstarters and crowdfunding campaigns. There's tons of other toys that I'll be talking about this year. Today, we're just talking about, crowdfunded stuff. So I'm excited for their Year 2 stuff. But to the best of my knowledge, it's just being released. I don't think they're doing crowdfunding. All right. Derek Dalzell. Speaking of Nippon Adventures, it says this line will go good with Mezco, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow. OME background dudes for photos. OME, I don't know what that means. But yes, great background for those, I think. Spaded One McDysentery said just went back and looked at the Biblical Adventure stuff. Didn't realize they had a base kit with one that looks like the figure is walking water. Yes, yep, yep. They have one that's on a cross, one that walks on water, and then they got a whole bunch of different. Like I said, I got Force Ghost Translucent Jesus because I thought that was clever. And there you go. D17 Year 2 is not a Kickstarter, right? Derek says, I'm looking forward to Crytoids. Love the YHS crew. Red 5 says, I'm not a fan of these Crytoids. They look too kitty. If they were more hyper detailed, I'd be down. That's totally fair. And that's, that's part of, I think Crytoids is a really good example of a toy line that really suits crowdfunding for so many reasons. And I'm going to talk about Crytoids a decent amount because I personally am very, very excited about Crytoids. Excuse me. For a number of reasons. The reasons that I'm most excited is because it's folks that I know. The YHS crew, the Toy Anxiety crew. Well, I guess it's not the Toy Anxiety crew because Dole's not involved at all and apparently has no idea what's going on with Crytoids. But the Yes Have Some podcast guys are great. I've had the privilege to get to chat with them a few times, and I know that this is something that they've been working on for a long time. This has been something that they've sort of mentioned to me for the last year and a bit. And so I'm very, very excited for, what they're doing with this. Their Instagram has been fantastic, just in terms of their marketing. It's been fantastic in terms of like the reveals. I think the toys look really, really cool. I know that it's not for everybody. I totally get it. I totally understand that these do have a very kind of 80s toy feel to them, which is part of what I like about them. I don't know what the scale is going to be exactly, and I know that, like, for example, this Mothman is quite a bit smaller than their Yeti figure, and then I don't know how their sort of Lizard Man factors in scale-wise, but I'm here for it. I love this stuff. I think it looks really, really cool. I'm very curious to see what the campaign page looks like for this, to be perfectly honest, because I know that they really care about the design stuff. And so I'm sort of very much looking forward to, what they offer in terms of, presentation and stuff like that. They do already have a website. So this is their website, Crytoids War for the Green Planet, Kickstarter launch spring 2026. Still no date, still no sort of hard date. But there's Mothman, and then there's an image of the Yeti figure that they've done, and you can join the mailing list, which I would say you may as well. I don't know that I've ever got an email from them, But if you want to see more of the designs, if you want to see sort of more of what they're doing, the Instagram page is by far the best, way to get that information. So Crytoids Toys on Instagram is going to show you all the different figures that they're doing. So they got their Mothman, they got their Lizard Man, they've got their Yeti. This was a tease recently. This was like in the last couple days, they've revealed their Jackalope with fangs and blood red eyes. Again, I don't know. I don't know how big this is. I don't know if this is like, is this going to scale with the moth? I'm trying to find, like, where is it? Where is it? What am I looking for here? I'm looking for, let me go back to this. Like, will the Jackalope scale kind of like this weapon that he's got, or will the Jackalope be bigger, or will it be small? I don't know. But I'm fascinated by this. I'm very intrigued by what these guys are doing. I like but I just like the overall feel. This feels really, really fun to me. There's an element of this that I know is not going to appeal to everybody, and I think they know it's not going to appeal to everybody. So I'm very, very curious to see how this goes. You've got some army builders in the Lizard Man, and some alternate colors. There's the pale one is exclusive to the Kickstarter campaign. So at the very least, I'm gonna be picking up this guy here. But I think I'm probably gonna be picking up several of these. Like I said, love the designs, love the characters, and just how much fun this line potentially is going to be. There's sort of one scale comparison. I haven't seen a scale comparison for much of the other stuff yet, but Mothman's about 5 inches tall, with the Yeti being about 7 inches tall. So you're getting some variety there. But yeah, very, very curious to see. Justin Mohite says, read the description, and I think it said it's 3 inches for the Jackalope. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. It's right there. I didn't even read it. Standing at approximately 3 inches, these figures are fun entry points into Cryptoids. So yeah, I don't think this has any articulation. I think it's just a little sort of figurine type of thing. But it'll go great with the other characters. So I don't know if they'll offer this as sort of a separate thing, whether it'll be an add-on. They're saying these figures are a fun entry point into Cryptoids. So I don't know if this will be like, the lowest tier, reward that you can back for or what. But I am, like I said, I'm very, very curious to see, what they do. And I think they've said that the first, like the Kickstarter campaign and the first wave is like 6 to 8 figures. I don't know if that means, these 3 count for 3, and then the Mothman and the Yeti and the Jackalope, is that 6, or is that, 3 plus the Jackalope? Like, I don't know. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to these. I think these look really, really cool. I think these are really fun. I genuinely think this is maybe the one that I'm most excited about, just in terms of, these probably are the most appealing to me in terms of how much they feel like toys, if that makes sense. And they said it's 6, not 8. Okay, so I'm interested now to see, does 6 include Jackalope? So that'll be sort of the next thing that hopefully we'll find out is where does that 6 sort of fall? Let's see. Red 5 says it's weird not including Dole. Dole's got his own stuff going on though too. It's that's I think, yeah, I think a lot of people sort of associate Dole with the Toy Anxiety crew for good reason. He's part of Toy Anxiety. But the Yes Have Some guys live on the opposite side of another country. So I think this is sort of them, doing their thing. Dole's, don't worry about Dole. He's plenty busy with other stuff. So Justin Mohead says Cryptoids is fun, but I think they are doing too many figures in the initial offering. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting take. We'll see. I know that multiple bucks kind of exponentially slows down the process. So we will see. That's the toughest one for, I think, a lot of people is scheduling these things, but we will see. I'm excited for them. Brick Something makes a good point here too. He says there's all sorts of collectors, and I find it refreshing and appropriate that YHS would do this sort of like it was in stores in the 90s line, right there with Tides Merman figures. Yes, and those I think are out too. So oh man, just realized that my mic was the wrong mic was connected. It probably sounds better now that I've switched it. Brick Something says, I really like the Mothman and Lizard sculpts. Yeti with the mask is cool too. Yeah, I feel like these will fit in well with like Thundercat Super 7 Ultimates and the Ninja Turtles Super 7 Ultimates too. So like I think there's kind of crossover here, potential for folks that like those kinds of toys, which personally I really, really do. So I'm very excited about this. Brian Brink, I feel like these Cryptoids are going to look more detailed once they get past the render stage. They might. I think they'll look different. I think when you look at a render under that sort of fake light, they never look quite the same. I don't know how much more detailed they'll necessarily look, but I think they'll look really good in person. Spaded one make dysentery. My problem is I want to see it. I think what you mean is my problem with this line is that I want to see these monsters done seriously. Like I need a 4 Horsemen Chupacabra 3-pack. That's fair. That's as Brick mentioned, and I completely agree. There's all sorts of collectors. There's different people looking for different stuff. I think this kind of tickles a little bit more of a nostalgia itch, or scratches a little more of a nostalgia itch than some other lines potentially do, where you can certainly get a more realistic version of any of these, but it's going to be personal preference. It's your mileage will vary with any line. People that love the cartoony stuff are probably looking at the same stuff that you're saying you would like and going, well, I don't really like it so realistic. So there's something for everyone. Peter Klein says, have to admit, I had no real interest in this line until I saw the troop builders with the alternate gecko-ish, Sleestackish head. Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I mean, I think the 2 heads for that figure, let's here, let me trying to find I'm trying to find a picture where they have both heads sort of right next to each other. This will do. So this to me looks more realistic, right? Like this to me is more monstrous and scarier and a little more like, if you want the more realistic version, I think you get this one. This looks kind of goofy. This looks kind of like prosthetic costume from the 60s, 70s. So everybody's going to have different preferences. Everybody's going to want different things. As I said, I love all this stuff. I think these look really, really good. The Mothman, admittedly, when the Mothman was revealed, I didn't initially. I was like, okay, but each thing that they add adds more interest to me. So, Spaded One says these would have definitely been a huge thing for me as a kid. These are dope. Country Boy Niner says these look to have the perfect blend of cool looking characters with color and size articulation. Love this idea, and I love the YHS group. Let's see. Justin says you should have them on your show when the Kickstarter launches. I've tried to schedule Craig to be on here a bunch of times. Was he on here? I can't remember if Craig was on here. I've been on YHS. I've done a bootleg with Dole. And when we did the Space Zombies from Mars Kickstarter, we did Toy Anxiety. But I don't know if they've ever... I can't remember now. Anyway, maybe. We'll see. I'll try to get them on. I mean, like I said, I love this line. I really want it to be successful, so I would love to have them on. I don't know when the Kickstarter is, though. I guess I could ask. I'll ask and schedule something. Speaking Moistly says the Mothman looks like the Pokemon Venomoth. He really kind of does. Let's see. Chupacabra is the only cryptid that is real. I'll be honest, I'm not a like, I like the Mothman and Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti and the lizard people and Jackalope and all. Jersey Devil, I think, is a cryptid, right? I don't know. I don't even know what a cryptid really is. I just like cool characters and cool monsters and stuff like this. So, Brian Brink says my Mondo Ghostbusters are going to have fun chasing these guys around. I think there's an element of that too. I think, I know, just as everybody else knows, that those guys kind of love that Mondo cartoon look. And so I'm not really at all surprised that these look the way that they do. Brick something says he'll be on during the Kickstarter. He'll need it. I don't know. They got a decent audience, but I mean, I guess it casts a little bit wider net. Retro Toy Princess Allison says my ex's mom is a cryptid. So there you go. I don't know if Allison's ex's mom is the Chupacabra, or a second confirmed real cryptid. I don't know. Anyway, moving right along. To this. We will very briefly talk about the Nameless Toy Company and their first failed attempt at a Kickstarter in March of 2025, and the fact that they are going to be doing another Kickstarter. Now, I've mentioned this before. Obviously, I'm being facetious. The Nameless Toy Company, of course, is Arlen and myself, Space Zombies from Mars. And we are very, very, very excited about the relaunch, I guess, or the second attempt at our Kickstarter, which will be fairly late in the year. We sort of have a tentative date scheduled. We just got to make sure that everything sort of lines up. Also, there's not really any point in announcing it now. If things change, it might change the date and the last time we announced it months in advance, we kind of got screwed over because a bunch of other things came up and we had sort of announced it and we had sort of set the dates in and all that kind of stuff. And then another Kickstarter or another crowdfunding campaign, kind of got rescheduled right on top of ours. And then I did WonderCon, which was like the last week of the campaign. So I was kind of MIA for the last week of the campaign. But we're still working on it. We're still sort of tweaking things. We've got a lot going on in the background in terms of, just detail stuff. We believe that we have our comic book artist locked in. We have updated decos for almost all the figures. There's a couple that we didn't touch. There was a couple that we were like, this is perfect the way that it is, and we're not changing anything. But there's, there were some details that I thought could be improved and kind of refined a little bit. So I actually genuinely think that the second offering, in terms of, what the figures kind of look like, is actually better. So in some ways, you know, it's probably a blessing in disguise that we didn't fund the first time around. Also, this time around, we have a lot more time to um to sort of get the Kickstarter campaign page and the you know, just all of that stuff done. That being said, don't bother looking for our website because this is currently what it looks like. We've registered the domain name, but haven't done anything with it. So if you're at all interested in seeing stuff, the best place to look is going to be on Instagram, TNT Co. on Instagram. I think you can look it up as the Nameless Toy Company too. But all the sort of latest news and updates and things like that will be on the Instagram. It just feels like the fastest, most immediate. You know, everybody has, not everybody, but most people have Instagram right on their phone. That just sort of, you know, it's there. You check it all the time. It's easy. It's quick. So that's kind of going to be the touch point for most things. So anyway, yeah, don't bother with the website, at least for now. I mean, it looks like shit when you go looking for it. You can email us. You know, we've got all that stuff set up, and we've got a bunch of stuff set up. Like I said, we're working much more on the back end. We're working much more on getting stuff done, the files getting submitted to the factory, getting the files sort of approved by the factory, getting them reviewed, and sort of working on getting you know, samples and things like that. The goal, the intention for the second time around is actually to have test shots, factory made test shots in hand by the time the Kickstarter goes live. Meaning the Kickstarter will effectively be the beginning of the pre-order phase, not of development. Development has still been ongoing this whole time. We've been working with the project manager. We've been working with some great folks on a bunch of different things, and so yeah, that's where we're at with that. We may do a small Kickstarter campaign, just like a very, very small one, just for the comic book and the album. The album's done. The album was recorded and mastered. It's all done. Again, it just has to be produced. Like, we just have to literally like print the LPs, print the records. The comic book, the goal is to have the comic book done in the next few months. And so once that's done, we might launch those as sort of like a little mini campaign to sort of kickstart, for lack of a better word, to kickstart, you know, interest in the brand again, in the IP again. So we will see. Stay tuned for more on that. Okay, let me see the comments, and then I'll show you a couple pictures because I can. Mr. Ryan Clark, I know you're excited about this. Josh Brown, I know you're excited about this. Spaded One McDysentery. It's zombies in space. It's awesome. I hope so. Space zombies from Mars will return in Avengers Doomsday. Well, isn't everybody returning in that? Derek Dalzell said, good shite. I need these space zombies. Ooh, private equity. I don't know what that. Oh, that website. No, that website is like, oh, you could get that from that website, I guess. Is that what you're talking about? Leveraging stakeholder value is what gets me up in the morning, says Andrew. Brian Brink says, I want to make custom astronauts. Can you make an add-on to just get extra helmets? Like, just reach out to me with what you mean. Maybe. I don't know. Not She-Hulk. What? I don't know what that's about. Got to get that 1950 style glow in the dark astronaut zombie. That's the plan. I mean, we're hoping, right? Okay, let's take a look at these and then we'll wrap up and I will send you all on your merry ways for a Sunday. This I've already shown. This I had mentioned was the most dramatic change in terms of deco. So if you cast your memory back to the first Kickstarter campaign, to the first sort of reveal of this figure, there was just some differences in terms of color. There was some differences in terms of, you know, deco and where things were placed in terms of logos and things like that. So this one I've already showed, but what I wanted to show today was this. So this is the update to the military figure. So for all intents and purposes, again, we didn't change the figure. This is still a military, you know, this is sort of the leader of the military faction on the mission. Guy Garrison, you know, the names haven't changed, just their outfits have changed a little bit. Now, what I will show you, and this will be vague, and I didn't do a slide properly to sort of show this. I just realized that I could by sort of going back and forth. What has changed across the present or across the offering is that there are more things about the suits that are uniform, in the sense that, like, the chest, use the chest box as an example. Just use this box on the chest as an example. Previously, the medical, you know, the medical guy, this guy, had his in a light gray, and then the military one was in green. Now they're both in gray. The straps that hold that piece on are now uniform across suits. The belts are uniform across suits. The sort of straps, whoops, I'll go back to that. The straps on the bicep, the straps on the thigh, the kneecaps, like certain details just got streamlined. My suggestion was, if this is sort of like a uniform, a suit, they wouldn't all be different. You know, there would be things that were just made, you know, en masse, and you would just get that one, and they would put a logo on it, and that would sort of be where that would be the difference. So some of those things got streamlined, and I'll be honest, Arlen and I went back and forth a lot on this. We took. This was sort of in the downtime while we were waiting to do other things. We worked on this a lot, and we spent a lot of time really dialing this in. This was, without a doubt, the medical one was without a doubt the hardest one to get right. And in a future show, I'm going to do sort of the evolution of the color change decos on these, and just sort of go through the process of sort of how we went about it. And I actually saved, you know, different steps where, like, you know, there wasn't enough red, and then there was too much red, and then there was not enough gray, and then it felt like a stormtrooper. There's a version of this that looks just like a first order stormtrooper, and we were like, it doesn't work. So, you know, we went through a whole process like this, but we are very, very excited with the result of that process. We're very, very excited about how good these figures look now. I think they looked good the first time around. I genuinely think if you put them next to what the first offering was and the second offering, they just look like, not that the old ones look bad, but when you look at them in comparison, they don't look as good, in my personal opinion. Now we'll see if everybody, you know, it goes out to the crowd for the crowd to decide whether they agree or not. But I'm very, very curious to see what people's reaction is. But I genuinely think it'll be good. Red 5 says, I'm liking the change a lot more. Spaded one says, daddy like. Mr. Ryan Clark says, are you still hoping to include the same accessories? Yes. And we will, yeah. So, you know, everything that was revealed in the first Kickstarter, we're basically doing all of that stuff in the second. It's just, you know, decos have changed, and sort of little things have been tweaked.
We have packaging, like our packaging is more or less complete. The box insert is done. So some different artwork, stuff like that. Like I said, we have the comic book artist pretty much locked in. He hasn't started the comic book, but we've kind of locked in the artist, and we're sort of communicating with him for timeline, stuff like that. So yeah, we're kind of full steam ahead on this. Brian Brink, is the chest box and the helmet mount removable, or are they molded into the figure body? They are separate. So there's a secondary piece. And when I did, like I said, when I do a show, in more detail about this, I will show the articulation. I have a full breakdown view of the whole figure, like down to, the knee joint separate, the pinless knee joint separated and stuff like that. So I'll go through all of that, and we'll have a really good kind of reference point for people to look at. All right, so like I said, this is the updated military figure. Just for a quick reference, just so you can sort of see them, I have this sort of before and after. I do have sort of in between stuff, but this is the before and after. So the before is on the left here. This is the offering from the first Kickstarter. This is the offering from the new Kickstarter. So this is the updated. Don't worry about the heads. Those are, this head will come with this figure, and this head will come with this figure too. You get all that stuff with the figure. Don't worry about that. I just couldn't crop the images well enough while I was feverishly trying to do this at the last minute. I realized I could show you both so you'd have a better idea. But like I said, sculpts haven't really changed. Details haven't really changed. What has changed is just a little bit of, the deco in terms of colors and things like that. So where this was sort of black on this secondary piece, Brian, this is part of the secondary piece that you were asking about. While it was black, it's now green. If it's the military guy who's green, that'll be green. For the engineer, it'll be orange. For the science, it's blue. For the medical, it's white. So that was, again, one of those details where different figures had that kind of mocked up differently. And the more I looked at that offering, the more I realized that they didn't feel like they were as much on the same mission. So that was sort of the idea there. And across the board for a lot of these details that are crossover, the detail around this little plug, is red, and it'll be red on all of the figures. This chest piece is, gray on all the figures. All the hands are now black with sort of the secondary color on the back. All the kneecaps will match these thigh bands and arm bands in this sort of gunmetal dark gray metallic. So yeah, very, very excited to show all of this stuff, but it will all be in due time. We're mapping out a schedule for sort of how to reveal all this stuff and how to release it. All of it will be on the Instagram page. So if you or anybody that you know is interested in this, the Instagram is going to be where we are going to post things first, and then we can kind of talk about them later, unless it's on here and I just am rambling about things because I want to, because I've been sitting on some of this stuff for months. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for today. Way to steal back some of that 4 Horsemen Cosmic Zombie Thunder. I mean, I got no problem with that. Rising tides, right? Rising tides float all boats. And I think, I don't think it's a secret. We've said this before. We are going to be working with Chris Garwich, who's also works for 4 Horsemen, using their factory. So I think the more zombies, the better in some ways, because if you've got more stuff that you can sort of reference and use and sort of add to your collection, why not? Secondary piece will be softer. That is correct. Concern with matching the green on the harder parts? Not really, because they're probably going to be painted. So if you're painting parts, it's relatively easy to match. You don't have to worry about the plastic that you're casting them in as much. Is it the same shade of black as the first version? No. The military figure has very little black. He has like dark gray now rather than black, because that color gets used for other figures. So again, that sort of idea of it being a little bit more uniform was sort of part of what played into that. And I will happily justify that decision because it just makes more logical sense. I know that there's a lot of people that are probably thinking like, oh, the military one, I wish it was black. That's fine. You can wish that all you want. It ain't black anymore. Brick says, great list. Looking forward to seeing Space Zombie Surge back. Me too. Brian Brink, I'm so very excited for these. I'll be saving and I'll be ready to back in force later this year. Ray Paz, I think I came too late. Space Zombies is going again. Yes, but not till later in the year. Not releasing with Spiro. No, this is the Nameless Toy Company. Space Zombies from Mars is myself and Arlen. I work for Spiro Toys. Arlen has done sculpts for Spiro Toys, but this is not a Spiro Toys release. Will the pieces be different from last time? Do you mean prices? The pieces will be different insofar as the deco has changed, but there's not really much change in terms of what we're doing. We're doing virtually the same thing, but with some different deco and some little tweaks and things like that. But the pieces, I think the pieces are the same. The prices should be the same. We have confirmed, we've reconfirmed pricing with the factory, and they've said no change over the quote that we got before. So, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we believe the prices should be the same as they were in the first Kickstarter. Now, that being said, the MSRPs might be different, but we're definitely going to try to sort of hit the same price points, because I think those price points for the Kickstarter pricing were very fair and like right where they need to be. MSRP might be a little bit more. It might go up, a few bucks per figure. But if you're backing the Kickstarter, you don't need to worry about that. So, back the Kickstarter and save yourself a few dollars. Peter Klein's, very glad to see Space Zombies aren't dead. They're very undead. Yes. What if all the zombies glow in the dark, since they are space zombies after all? It costs more to make them glow in the dark. That's why they won't all glow in the dark. They won't all glow in the dark. I can promise you that. Unfortunately, I kind of wish if they would. But the plan is still to have an offering that is glow in the dark. But to have them all glow in the dark is it's a little, I don't know. In a perfect world, I would argue for them to be all glow in the dark, but like I said, it costs a little bit more. It becomes a QC thing too, because in order to do it, so to do glow in the dark, you either have to bake it in, like the plastic either has to be extruded as a plastic that has the glow in the dark powder mixed into it, and then there's no finish on the I'll take a note of this and I will explain it when I do a more in-depth video, because this is one that's like, this is a whole how the sausage is made conversation one. I would love to do all of it in glow in the dark, and I would love to have tons of translucent, but both of those things present certain difficulties with other aspects, with other components and things like that. So anyway, I'll come back to that. I wish. But I will say that the goal is to have still have a glow in the dark offering. Small teaser, which I might get in trouble for saying. We have a figure that's not going to be in the Kickstarter that will very likely be glow in the dark, that is not a zombie. But you'll have to wait and see what that is. Ray Paz, I'm just trying to see if it will draw more players to the game. Hope it makes it this time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that glow in the dark and translucent, I think, are like niche things that I love. But for a lot of people, I don't know that it really moves the needle in the sense that I think the execution of it makes it a little bit more difficult. It is a little bit more expensive. So yeah, I would love to offer, all that stuff. I mean, we put NFTs in there if enough people were into that, but I think that ship has sailed too. So anyway, NFTs are dumb. But if you like NFTs, that's cool. You enjoy your NFTs. Anyways, it's almost time for Brick Show. You got about 20 minutes between now and the Brick Something news, so you have plenty of time to get your beverage refilled, get your snacks replenished, have a bathroom break, and still get over to Brick Something's channel to check him out. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you guys in the chat, and anybody that is watching on the replay, I appreciate you as well. I'm still blown away that anybody watches this and that anybody tunes in because I'm just having fun talking about things that I like. So this is it's such a I'm very, very appreciative of any and all views and viewers, and feel really, really blessed to sort of be in a position where I can do this and I can work with toys and just talk about toys and all that kind of fun stuff. So I could just ramble on forever, but I'm not going to do that. Thank you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Now that's a country song. Living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. Well, I woke up this morning feeling pretty damn tired. I was up all night at a moonlight fire. There was beer, whiskey, a beautiful girls, but you can't afford no diamonds and pearls. So I told them I was famous for singing this song. I thought for a while I'd strung them along. One said, fellas, got a pretty good game. Tomorrow I won't even remember his name. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. But I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. I'll play that just like your daddy taught you. Grab myself a beer. I jumped in the car that I wanted to steer. I told them guys I'll be back in the gym, but I accidentally drove my car off a cliff. So now I'm dead, but the song remains, even though I scattered all of my brains on the inside of my black T-bird. I hope y'all remember these beautiful words. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. But I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go.